Call to order the special meeting of the TERS Board of the City of Navasota, January 23rd at 4:30 p.m. Dispense with item 2. Let's move to item number 3, consideration of possible action of appointing a chairperson and vice chairperson to the City of Navasota Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone 1, or TERS 1.
Mayor, members of council, last year you approved the creation of a tax increment reinvestment zone, TERS number 1, the City of Navasota. Now the new year has been established, and this is your first board meeting for the board of directors for the TERS. Need for you to elect a chairman or chairperson and a vice chairperson.
Does that have to be a person, or can it be a position? Or could we say that the mayor would be the chairperson?
I think we could do the position, right?
Yeah, as long as we tie that position to a name.
I think it would, yeah, position with a name, so I think it really goes with the person who's occupying that, and then if the office changes, the person in the office changes, then you would need to reappoint that person. So that would be my recommendation, that it would be an individual rather than the mayor or Mayor Pro Tem, something like that. Just so that it's clear. I know, the idea being, of course, that whoever holds that office would be the standing person in that position as the chair or vice chair. But I think it's really advisable just to go ahead and appoint the person, an individual.
Mr. Mayor, I move to appoint Bert Miller as the chairperson for the TERS Zone 1.
I'll second that.
Second. Motion and a second. Chairperson. Bert Miller, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Mayor, I move to appoint Grant Holt as the vice chairperson to the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone 1.
Second.
You can go ahead and do that, but means that I am not running for re-election.
We'll figure that out later.
I just wanted to make sure.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Item carried. And item 4, consideration of possible action on approving the final project and finance plan for the City of Navasota TERS Zone 1.
Mayor, members of council, as I just mentioned, you created the TERS number 1 for the City of Navasota. Within your packet is the tax increment zone number 1 final project plan and financing plan. Nothing has changed since you approved this back in part of the creation of the TERS back last year. It is required that the TERS board approve it, and then later on this evening, you as acting as the same board of directors as council will also have to act on this at the council meeting.
So there have been no changes since
No changes,
originally presented.
other than the word final being put on there.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the final project and finance plan for the City of Navasota Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone 1.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Holt, seconded by Ms. Peterson to approve the final project and finance plan for the City of Navasota TERS Zone 1. Okay, 1. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, item carries. I guess we're adjourned for now, right?
We're gonna just leave it running and then unmute it, is that okay?
Yeah, we can cut it
I just allowed just a little bit of time in case you had to go to the restroom between. Probably catch you a smoke break.
I should have some more questions for you.
Yeah. Yeah, wait. 4:45.
Yeah, that's good information.
Do you want some favors for this meeting?
No, I was shoving that candy in my mouth and I looked up and he made eye contact and he made a sad face and I was like, I felt guilty.
Did you say you follow what you heard?
Well,
Please tell me it's not wrong.
A lot of people are unsatisfied. They participate,
Right.
No.
but they also kept
I love her.
So. Hey, all right. Yeah. But what I don't know is when do we have to be out, and usually it's done at closing, right? Closing for the doing the same day, and sometimes we have 3 days. But I did, yeah.
Everybody
It turns out I don't have to pay escrow. Taxes.
I want it.
On insurance.
And she's British.
Like, heck yeah, I'll.
Some of the things about mine. If she's older than me, it's not.
$1,000. Taxes and insurance.
For how many
It's twice the size. And the lot is probably 5 times the size.
Lend me a tenner, it's gonna be, I think. But that's what we thought, we're gonna get with it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, we're trying to get creative and start doing more stuff.
I mean, they're wanting
Yeah.
they're wanting to
Having
do
looked
50
at
lots
about the
in the next.
We're getting
section.
ready to talk, I mean, before the holidays, it's been crazy, Ethan and I haven't been able to. And then now I'm in this play, and so I got rehearsal.
what is it, what's going on now?
It's just to be hilarious.
And you would think from 50 to 60 is not really that much, but it is.
Yeah.
Mark's not crazy about it. He's
Very goes.
Yeah. And just the feeling of having somebody.
I tell you where I'm at. I mean, I'd love to, like to say that. But another, really false. My business. It's wide open.
Is it?
It's wide open. It has visibility, parking. Well, and then that company, Aaron has a lot of different. What's going on with the finance? I said, the thing that's Aaron's but I do love pillars.
You and Michelle come up with plan of action? Cemetery?
Well, we took it.
Whatever his name is, he's very fast, and that's all three. We were also notified of
What? Okay, there you go. Thank you.
I just figured it was
Oh,
We don't have it.
I don't know if you can, call this, but.
Well, yeah, but, you know, they can't just.
You don't follow it.
You know,
Well,
they can't.
we can start.
Doesn't work that way, so, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh, yeah, that'd be the worst time to do it, you know, you got this in the family, yeah, oh, yeah. You know, they're all emotional, extra emotional.
Did he have to be there
Whatever,
probably
yeah.
like suck up all the stuff?
That's the best time is when staff's there, because they won't judge it.
Right, that,
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things.
I mean, pick the bowl up and lick it.
I mean, it was so good.
I know, it is good.
Unexpectedly nice.
Yeah.
and we're doing.
Something had to start, had to be some kind of, yeah, it's better. Somebody took somebody took my phone letters back there. And that's a good impression too, you know.
Really odd day. It is.
You can, if it's just authorization, you can change it as long as.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Because all we did the authorization for the.
Hey, Lupe, did you talk to Carrie about my out of the box thinking?
Changing that.
Yes.
Nothing like that.
And I called him back and he's gonna do everything. Full amount.
So, okay, so.
That's why I and I don't know what I like that day.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, 3:13.
I had marks.
Every day.
Sometimes. Like Star. He was
Tell the other
probably
brothers, so yeah, I sent it in, and I sent it in, and, yeah, and there's this playing games. I forgot this.
What's his name?
No, they all did that.
Okay.
Yes.
It's hard, copies of the same thing. Like wasn't signed. They put it in the sign, but I just
And if you'll notice, whenever he's on, whenever he's on Fox or something, you know, is the link. Or not page, 26.
Call to order this special meeting of the City Council on 23rd January, 4:45 p.m. Any remarks?
No, sir.
None? Item number 3, workshop on downtown Navasota assessment report conducted by Texas Downtown Association. Ryan.
Mayor, members of council, you asked a while back what the status of the report was, and so I know that we sent that out to you. We sent it out to a bunch of the merchants downtown, and so Brandon's put together a presentation. You have that within your package. Just going to kind of go through it, see if you have any questions or anything on it.
Looks like we have a ghost.
All right, good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Jason gave a little bit of a background on the Texas Downtown Assessment Report that was finalized last August. Okay, so just to give you all a little bit of a background, as part of our membership with the Texas Downtown Group, they provide low-cost downtown assessment plans to help their partners when it comes to strategic planning and finding ways to improve downtowns across the state. And so in mid-2021, the city received a grant from BBVA, which funded the cost of this assessment. And so staff decided to wait until mid-2022 to actually follow through and complete the assessment, just because we were waiting on the Railroad Street improvement project to be complete, and then also the businesses on Railroad Street to open. And so part of this process included getting a committee together with 5 individuals associated with the Texas Downtown Association, Main Street managers across the state, design consultants and whatnot. And so that included a downtown survey. So they created a survey for us, and we put it in the downtown Facebook merchants group chat. And then we also distributed it via email to 78 stakeholders, and we received a total of 13 responses on that survey. And then it also included the stakeholder Zoom meeting that the Texas Downtown Group facilitated on Tuesday, May 3rd from 5:30 to 7. We were trying to hit those evening hours where we might be able to get some more participants involved. And we had around 12 participants on that evening. And then the downtown committee came to Navasota on May 13th. And then the final report was delivered in August 22. And then we also distributed this report to the downtown Facebook group, and then also via email to the stakeholders that we had originally reached out to for the survey. And some of the initial observations from that report are listed above in your packet. But one thing I wanted to note is they were very impressed with the downtown crosswalk, and also that we have a good relationship with our office to help get projects like this funded. And then they also highlighted that the city has a strong commitment to downtown efforts, and that we're slowly becoming a destination with some of the businesses that are opening up and attracting visitors in from out of Navasota. And so with that, here are some of their, there's a lot of short-term recommendations that we can begin working on. And so that's going to take up the next few slides. So I'll just read them off here. They recommended surveying downtown stakeholders, leveraging the Blues Capital of Texas designation, unify our branding and marketing Navasota as a complete district, removal of sub-districts, establish a downtown merchant group, provide small business and entrepreneurial support, explore year-round shop local campaigns, and then signage on the property owner side, being removing signage from businesses that are closed, handwritten signs and political signs. And then on the city side, provide directional wayfinding signage, which I'll talk a little bit towards the end of the presentation. Some more recommendations include continuing downtown beautification, increasing public art, engagement with the youth in the local school district, create and enforce downtown design standards, explore trash initiatives to alleviate issues for downtown business owners, and enhance pedestrian safety, which they had noted that crosswalk project as a step in the correct direction. Assess the impact of downtown events, explore opportunities for upper floor development, which they mentioned in here, the option for residential lofts apartments being a good use for those upper floor development in the downtown buildings. Utilizing our visitor center, test out placemaking, for example, at Vance Lipscomb Park, and utilizing hotel occupancy tax hot funds for projects. And so, and then one of the other short-term recommendations was to address the perceived parking concerns. So I'm just going to read a little bit from the report itself. So parking was cited as an issue in the stakeholder survey and during the in-person visits when they met with different property owners and business owners. And so this is a common complaint that Texas Downtown receives from downtowns of all sizes across the state, just because people believe that parking directly in front of their downtown destination should be available. And often people don't have these same expectations for larger and big box retailers. And so a simple exercise to illustrate this, they took an outline of the local Walmart, both the building and parking lot, as you can see in the map behind you. And then they took that exact size and overlaid that over our downtown. And although our downtown is a little bit larger, it just kind of shows that comparison of how large that Walmart parking lot is and how far people are willing to walk to go to that store. And so just trying to highlight that in the downtown, although parking may not be accessible right at the front, there's still other opportunities. And so staff actually attended a downtown parking webinar that was hosted by Texas Downtown in March of 2022. And we received some good tips on that during that session on how to assess our own parking situation. And based on cell phone data provided from the retail coach, the Navasota Freedom Festival event is one of the top 5 busiest days in downtown Navasota. And in 2022, we had a total of approximately 3,800 attendees at that event. So we decided to use that as a good time to kind of assess our parking availability. And so during that event last year, we used drone footage to capture parking availability in downtown, taking photos each hour from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And out of approximately 252 parking spots that were counted in downtown Navasota, and this doesn't include all around City Hall, since we had those streets blocked off for the event, and that parking lot right there was excluded as well. But out of 252 parking spots, in our central business district, the highest occupancy rate was around 38% at 8:30 p.m., which is right before the fireworks. And so the chart, it's kind of small and hard to see, but those are the times that we took all of the pictures, and we have pictures of each area, counted the spots, counted how many were filled and how many were vacant. And so the highest occupied rate was around 37% at 8:30 before the fireworks. And so just to kind of address this, a lack of parking is a perceived issue, and that was noted in the Texas Downtown report. And so one of the recommendations that the group suggested was wayfinding signage, and so that's something that we're currently working on and in the design phase right now. And then also they suggested that downtown property owners, business owners, and employees should leave the spots on Washington Avenue and right in front of their buildings available for customers, and have their employees park on like adjacent streets or behind the buildings.
Real quick. So just kind of give you a little bit of history about the wayfinding. So you remember we talked about during the budget process, we agreed we're going to use some hotel money, hotel motel funds for that. So when we attended TML, we already had a representative firm that we were working with. We met with them, scheduled a meeting the following week. We did a Zoom call at that time, scheduled everything, and since then, from then until December, tried to communicate with that company. We have very little communication. In fact, I don't think we've even received response back from them. So knowing that I did a similar thing in LaPorte, I reached out to LaPorte and was like, hey, isn't this the same company that that we're using there? And they were like, yes, and here's our representatives. So I reached out to that representative and said, hey, here's who we were working with. Can we change our rep and you work with us instead of working with them? And they were like, I don't recognize those names. And right about then, Raina came in my office and said, hey, did you recognize the email address you sent to? It was downtown something. I can't remember what it was, but it was a different company, sign company. And what was funny was when she was telling me that, that person was calling me on the phone. So she called and said, hey, I've looked, I couldn't find it. And I said, oh, no problem. We sent the email to the wrong group. And she says, well, if they've not provided you anything, we'd love to work with you. That was on one day, scheduled it for 2 days later, met with them, and it's unbelievable the design work that they are producing. In addition to that, we're not having to pay for the design work. Where the other company was going to charge us for the design work, we just pay for the signs once we get them, once they get designed. And the amount of art and artistic work that they have done, I can't wait to share that with y'all and with the public, because they've done some great things. So when we talk about perceived parking issue, we're gonna put parking signs where public parking.
Yes, it's on Google now.
Yeah, so we're gonna put actual public signs out on the public places. We'll have wayfinding that points the directions, and then wayfinding throughout the entire city, not only pointing to where things are, but it's a signage project too. So the downtown businesses will have a top sign. When she talked about the taking away the districts and everything, it's just gonna be the downtown. It's the actual overlay, or not the overlay district, it's the central business district. So we're just gonna call that a different name and put a really cool sign in the middle of the city down here. Street signs, wayfinding signs. There's gonna be some signage at each of the parks. So it's really cool, and it'll distinguish that because we'll have a Visit Navasota different sign. There'll be something at the Navasota Center. We're working on, whatever we're doing back behind along Cedar Creek. We're looking at doing some type of signage back there, so when you park back there and you get out, you know where businesses and where they're at and any events going. It's really cool, and the art, like I said, artwork. I just can't wait to roll that out. It is
So much so close.
no, not necessarily. So the logo and slogan is on some of the stuff, but I'm just talking about because you can't put everything on a sign, and it's just the design of the sign and trying to incorporate some history into the design of the sign.
Branding too, right?
Yes, yeah, so it's everything. Yeah, it's cool. We gave them a vision, and I think they're tired of us telling them, well, hey, go back and try this, go back and try this. But we want something that is Navasota and not used anywhere else. So,
Can I ask you a question, or would you rather me wait?
That's fine.
So, did they give any idea on how to educate the business owners or to put in front of their thought process about where their staff is parking? I mean, we've been talking about it for, at least since I was 10. But it still is a problem. So did they give you any ideas?
So one of the things during a recent committee meeting that we've been discussing is how to get maybe some of the businesses more involved with, like the Texas Downtown Group, and getting them involved because once you're a member, the webinars are free. And so that downtown parking webinar that I talked about that staff attended last year, we got lots of great ideas. It kind of gave us this idea to go ahead and kind of assess the situation and parking that we have available. But we can only obtain as much and try to communicate it out. I think if we can get more people involved in that and kind of attending some of those workshops of where professionals are coming in and giving all of these ideas, what's proven to be successful, that's, one way to kind of address it. And then also just if we can, as we move forward with the wayfinding project, getting people in here during the design phase to check it out and give feedback, just kind of reiterating and communicating those points that we're talking about now.
If God didn't want me to park at the front door, he wouldn't give me a driver's license.
So those were the short range recommendations. So now here are these are all the mid-range recommendations that the group came up with. So consider hiring downtown staff and apply for Main Street City designation, which I'll talk a little bit at the end. Pedestrian safety, again, how I mentioned with the tech stop project and the crosswalk in downtown. Continue small business and entrepreneurial support. Explore downtown overlay, encourage downtown and community housing, offer downtown incentives, and explore downtown and community art projects. And then the long-term recommendations that they suggested were to develop long-term infrastructure improvement plans, focus on Cedar Creek development, and then enhance downtown connectivity and walkability. So moving forward, here are some of, out of all of those recommendations that they've listed, here are some of the things that we've been working on, are currently working on, and will continue to work on. So one of them being in the 2022 Texas Downtown Annual Conference, staff heard from a presenter talking about how downtown property owners can utilize historic tax credits to offset up to 45% of qualified rehabilitation expenses for property improvements. And so we've been learning a lot about that program, and so what we're trying to do is work together with the chamber and with that presenter from that conference to set up a similar workshop here in downtown Navasota, have the presenter come in, actually take a tour of one of the buildings that needs some rehab work, and then the presenter can go over what rehab projects could be qualified under those qualified expenses, and then discuss how property owners can move forward and start utilizing this incentive. So that kind of falls under the small business and entrepreneurial support and incentive option that they mentioned in the recommendations. And then the Cedar Creek Mance Lipscomb Park Development and Clean the Creek campaign. As y'all are aware of the Clean the Creek campaign that happened last year, and then when we had the goats come in to help clean the creek, staff's currently working with the engineering firm. We're waiting on a proposal back for Mance Lipscomb Park area for what it would be to add in walking trails, a little park area, a pedestrian bridge over the creek. And so we're currently working on that, and we should have a proposal back within the next week or two. And then we're also working with a playground company just to kind of get a concept together for a green space area, park area in that park as well, to hopefully bring some outdoor to our downtown, and if we can find a way to bridge the Blues Alley, kind of make it known that there's more back there, and vice versa. And then cell phone analyses and downtown sales tax custom reporting. So we're also beginning to find new ways to use data to assess the value that downtown brings to our overall community. So as we've mentioned before in the past, we're able to use cell phone analysis reports from the Retail Coach to not only see the impact of events like the Freedom Festival one that we just talked about, but also just to see overall the growth in visits to downtown by year. So we looked at some of our previous reports, and we had a year-long one from, I believe it's April 20 to April 2021, and we had a total of 97,000 visitors with a total of 348,000 visits to downtown, so showing that there's repeat people coming back. And then taking that same time period from April or May of 2021 to 2022, we saw an increase into 106,000 visitors with a total of 430,000 visits to downtown. So that's about a 9% increase in unique new visitors from one year to the next, and then around a 23.5% increase in total visits downtown. So just finding new ways to use data to kind of show the value and impact that downtown has on our community. And then also Main Street City designation. Staff's already been talking to other Texas downtown cities that have successfully entered the Main Street program. Some of them within the last few years, like the city of Conroe was recently designated. And so we've also been talking to a consultant with connections to the Main Street program that's going to be providing us with a proposal to complete of how much it would be to complete the application for that designation. And so some of the benefits of becoming a Main Street city include more grant opportunities, additional resources from the Texas Historical Commission, free trainings and education opportunities, design services, etc. And one of the things I mentioned with the historical tax credit, the presenter from that topic had mentioned some of the benefits that the businesses can receive from us being a Main Street city or designated city in terms of like free design services that they can use to help make the historical tax credit process easier for them. And then also having a dedicated Main Street manager as a staff member on board to fully focus on fostering relationships with the downtown businesses, tenants, property owners, and then also focusing on exploring and implementing the recommendations that have been brought out in this report would just be beneficial to the community as a whole. And then the wayfinding project, as Jason mentioned, we're already working with a company to provide wayfinding signs to the whole city, and then also a unique concept specific to downtown, which will include the parking signs. And we've gone through multiple sets of revisions with them, and so we keep coming back with new ideas, wanting to make sure we kind of have a really clear idea of what we all think would be a good fit to bring that to City Council for workshop for future feedback. So hopefully we're getting closer on that, so that shouldn't be too much longer, but it's really exciting. And then the parking assessment and signage, which I just talked about. And so that was pretty much it from the findings with the report. And if you have any questions, I can
Curious on that parking assessment, saying 37% or whatnot. I guess that includes, like, would that include like the section, the Farquhar off of Washington, like a
So-
block,
No, for the
or is
parking,
it just Washington Avenue and the parking lots?
let me see the. Let me go back up. It wasn't all of the parking, it wasn't all of the parking that was in, downtown, like I said, because of the street closures, and then we didn't include that front, parking lot or the one by the post office. But it did include everything on Railroad Street, going from Railroad, McAlpine to all of 10th, and then all of Washington, and then the EDC parking lot, the parking lot by Manslipstone Park behind the businesses on North Washington Avenue, and then the Wells Fargo parking lot back in that area.
And then the one here, I guess, obviously, like
Right here.
the Visitor Center.
No, we didn't include that one, just in the drone footage. So, I mean, the occupancy would be overall be a little bit higher than that, since those were primarily occupied. We just wanted to show that some of the ones that, where we don't have maybe as visible signage, or people aren't really aware of where the parking is in those areas, aren't being utilized for those reasons. So, those, like the more hidden parking lots, like I said, over in Manslipstone, behind Wells Fargo, and then some like on 10th Street. If we can maybe highlight some of that parking availability through signage, people will have a better idea of the parking availability instead of just the lots that are the parking lots that are the closest.
Because they did mention, you know, the loft residences and whatnot. And that's gonna create a lot more need if the more of those kind of developments come along. Because I know that from back.
One of the things,
So
so I, last week I approached the Theater Alliance about either a long-term lease or purchasing the parking lot or the vacant property adjacent to City Hall, so that we can at least start moving all of our PD vehicles over there, PD staff is over there, and if we have any other additional room for city vehicles and city staff, which again, I don't know how many we can get in that parking lot if we created what it would be, but definitely getting stuff from around City Hall moved over there would add some space to come this direction.
what's the timeline on the one behind where we tore down the?
So we're waiting now for our engineer, as Rand was talking about, our engineer's coming up with an entire drawing, layout for it. I would think it's probably not gonna be till October, because we've been putting funding in there. We only have funding in there for the design portion. Again, designing it's not as expensive as actual concrete. That's something we'll look at. So that, at the parking lot and putting in some walking trails on that side. If you had to phase it in, that'd be phase one. Phase two would be across the other side with a playground. Phase three could be, if we want to put a splash pad there. Phase four would be pedestrian bridge. One of the grants that we're looking at is through the railroad to actually redo the pedestrian bridge for the railroad to make it look like it's a railroad bridge for pedestrians. So then you have a full circle for a walking area through there. Again, it'd be trails on the other side of the creek too, lighted. And then the last phase is going to be from North LaSalle all the way to Rosing and then to Cleveland Street there with true sidewalks that's not leaning, if you're going to fall, with lighting, benches, and I think we had a study a while back, so they're taking that study that we had done a while back, incorporating it, so several places throughout the creek there, we would actually have step downs with levels down that you could, if you want to go fish or just hang out, read a book or something down there, you could do that. No whitewater rafting, no kayaking yet. Yeah.
It's not that deep.
Yeah.
Not here.
But the other part is, of course, we've heard from several individuals about the county possibly doing, redoing the Brostic Bridge, but there's some historical elements of that we've got to figure out, plus there was something else we had to, I can't remember, do you remember that?
That was the main thing, is verifying if it's a WPA bridge or not.
Yeah. So it's several phases, Mayor, and so once we know that, then we'll try to get some cost estimates for it. But the parking lot it will be the first piece. This side of the creek will be the first piece of it.
So the city has this side of the creek and the other, the green space that's on the other side of the creek between Berkshire's and the creek is the city's property?
Yes, ma'am.
I was curious about that.
So that'll start being able to utilize, I mean, so.
You want here?
Yeah, so Berkshire's doesn't, I mean, that's places that Berkshire's doesn't utilize in the parking lot there's along there. So that's some parking spaces that can be filled up during
I
the
would
day.
imagine what a great little area that would be for like a Saturday market.
One of the studies that was done had that property on the other side of the creek there at Brookshire's to be some kind of music venue, with a little stage there, and maybe some seating around it, a little amphitheater.
So depending on how big it is over there, there's multiple things. Staff's got some really great ideas. I mean, we'd love to be able to do something, maybe Navasota, the word Navasota out so you can have a photo op out there. It's just, there's a lot of neat things we're looking at.
I love it. Y'all have any more questions? Oh yeah, it's just
Yeah,
funny.
it's just, but the thing is, once you get a plan and then you try to start finding the funding,
Right.
as the funding comes up, you've already got the plan in place, design and everything, just move forward.
Yeah, there's a bridge there. I haven't been on it.
Over there off Cleveland Creek, and back in.
No, the one that used to be Railroad Street.
Yeah,
The
there is a
Railroad
bridge there.
Street used to go across the creek,
There
right
are
into the
there are
tracks.
two bridges
The
side by
bridge
side
there.
there.
Yeah.
The
And-
railroad bridge and then a car bridge.
Well, no, both of them were railroad bridges. And I understand that we have permission from the railroad to use that as a pedestrian bridge.
Right. And that's the one we're looking at adding to this plan.
That would be great. A little path there from the parking lot. That would be nice.
That's there behind Circle P.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been
There'll
on
be a
the
small
railroad
section
street.
that we will
I
need
can see it.
we'll need to get some easements for some walking trail. Just FYI.
All right, thank you.
That's your favorite.
What?
No, they're the easy one.
For the first ever, the first time ever, my people are easy.
Mayor, that's all we have on the work session tonight.